So we do have, of course, 2 community resource officers. A lot of you call them neighborhood officers, but Rob Gibbs and Bob Anderson, Rob and Bob, or Bob and Rob, we call them Rob, but they are outstanding. I'm blessed that they are still in District 1 to help me navigate the new things that I'm encountering here. So thanks, Rob. I appreciate it. Thanks, Jackie, for letting us know about that. So thank you.
And I
Sure.
went like 15
Anyone
minutes
else?
at your meeting to tell it.
Okay.
Hey,
All right,
anyone
I'll
else?
let Rob speak if no one has anything for me. So again, I appreciate everything that you all do. I'm honored to be serving you here in our neighborhood. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so let me explain some of the things that's happening. We have what's called a neighborhood newsletter that we're going to start putting out on a monthly basis. This is actually really good because it's specific for your neighborhood. Each neighborhood's going to have their own. This is something that that Commander Martinez implemented in District 4. He brought it here. I think it's a great idea. We normally give you those what's called CAG maps, and it has TFMV, which is theft from motor vehicle, all these things that you can look at. There's symbols and things. It's cool, whatever, but it's kind of hard to decipher. So we're going to get a little more specific for your neighborhood. So if you look at this newsletter, it just has crime prevention tips starting in January. When we do these newsletters, we're going to put on the very top and the left where it says crime prevention tips, we're going to start putting, okay, from this date, from the night of this meeting, 28 days back, which is a month, we're going to put, okay, how many auto thefts happened? What kind of cars were stolen? We're going to put we're not going to put TFMV, we're going to put auto break-ins. Very easy to understand. How many of those auto break-ins, how many were unlocked, how many were items that were taken that were in plain view. We're going to get a little more specific and a little more personal for your neighborhood, and it's going to be month by month. Also on here, it has upcoming events you'll see. And here is the CAG meeting that Jackie was talking about. It's listed on there. Lists the time and date and everything's going to be on there. Also, this upcoming event area is going to be specific for your neighborhood too. If there's something that you want us to put on here, because we're going to be able to send it. So if I wanted to send this completed one for next month, let's say we're having a Christmas party for West Highlands RNO, and you wanted something to be listed on there, I could easily do that for next month and then send it to Jackie, and you could put it on the website or whatever you want to do. So it's specific for you. The one thing that's really important, you may want to see some maps. Maybe you want some specific criminal activity that you want to be looking at. On here it says crime statistics. If you read that, you can go on denvergov.org/police and look at crime stats specific to even your street if you want to. Okay? A little more specific, easier to look up, very simple. And you can go to look at any neighborhood or street within Denver, so it's very specific. Also, then it, of course, lists the location, and of course it has a nice little blurb about your new commander on here. And of course, it has pictures of the Brob on the bottom and our contact information. So what we're going to do is this is what we're going to go to. I think it's very personal. It's better, a little easier to understand for each neighborhood. Each neighborhood's going to have their own. So that's what we're going to be going to. So this is the first one. I just handed out one to Sun Valley. Their meeting started at 6:15. They got theirs that's specific for Sun Valley. So this is specific for West Highlands. So this is what we're going to be going to. I do have a little talking point that my work husband left for me, Bob. And it says here to cover, of course I covered the newsletter. One thing I wanted to remind everybody about is Nextdoor, fantastic app. I love it. We post things on there. We try to limit our posts because we don't want you guys to get tired of having 5 posts a day from the police. We try to do no more than 2 a week. But one thing we wanted to remind everybody about is that any dialogue or discussion that happens between neighbors on Nextdoor, we can't see. We weren't able to see it. The only thing that we can see that you guys put on the app or on Nextdoor is responses to our posts. That's it. We can receive messages on Nextdoor, personal messages. That's it. So we just wanted to remind you, We do get emails from time to time of people seeing some sort of, that could be possibly construed as being criminal activity, and they talk about it on Nextdoor, but nobody calls the cops. So we ask, please, if you see discussions like that occurring, please interject and say, hey, has anybody called the police yet? Or maybe ask them, hey, call the police. That's our job, is what we want to do. We want to be informed. Unfortunately, we just can't see any dialogue that occurs between residents and citizens on Nextdoor. So we wanted to remind you of that. We wanted to also talk about porch pirates. Everybody knows about that, right? Okay, so we're going to be getting into the holiday season right now. We really urge folks to really explore shipping options. If you are allowed to have your packages delivered to where you work, I know that I have mine delivered to District 1, so does Bob, because we know we're going to get it. It's not going to be sitting on a porch for 2 or 3 hours with a big sign that says, take me. So we really want folks to look at other options. Amazon has lockers. You can request a signature for your package, or if you want to have your package delivered to a neighbor, let's say who's retired and works from home or something like that. That way you are sure to get your package. So we really want to hit this now, get the message out now. I know that by those big shipping giants, Amazon, Walmart, basically Black Friday's already started. People are already buying for the holiday season, and we really don't want to have just an influx. Billions of dollars were stolen worth of packages last year. Yes?
Another great option is having a post office box.
Yes.
The postal service can give you money, and you can even get your packages delivered from UPS.
Yep.
You get a street address.
Mm-hmm. And you can do a post office box for like a 30-day or a 2-month, I think 60-day. You know, you're not locked in for 6 months. I know they do that. Yeah, but if you don't want to have, if you don't want to have this PO box for, the next 5 years, you could do a 60-day rental, which makes it really handy. So, yeah, it's a small box, but you'll get a notice in your box saying that you have a package. All you do is go to the front desk and get your package, and at least it's not stolen. So we want to get that out. Another message we want to get out: it's cold. We're starting to hit the cold weather. That's very evident outside right now. To please not leave your vehicles running unattended. It's one of the number one reasons why we have auto thefts. People leave their cars running, warming up unattended. It takes a couple of seconds for somebody to jump in that car and take off with it. Even if it's locked, they'll break the window. Get in there, put it in drive, and they're gone. So we want to remind people about that. As I stated earlier, if you want to get specific on criminal activity, denvergov.org/police. Great, it's a great resource. It's updated about every 12 hours. So if you wake up one morning and you see 5 Denver police officers down the street, it takes about 12 hours for whatever occurred to hit that website, so that you can, if you want to be nosy, it's public records, you can find out. So, and then last, as I stated on here, CAG meeting November 19th, Monday. It's always the 3rd Monday of the month, unless that Monday happens to fall on a holiday. We will certainly let you know that if it's postponed because of a holiday on Nextdoor and on our Facebook page. So, does anybody have any questions or concerns? And yes, sir.
Just wondering about these scooters that are around town now. What accidents have we had?
I can't specifically talk about, I don't have any data on accidents, but I will tell you this. It's a trial period. So when your trial period regarding the scooters, there is a website and a tip line where if you see, I guess it's called reckless driving, reckless scootering going on, you can report that, because what they're doing is they're actually tallying these statistics to see how they're going to handle it once this 1-year trial period ends. So I have heard of some pretty bad accidents. I have actually witnessed one myself, and I just don't know what's going to happen. It's. I think they're about 8 months in, or 5 months into this trial period, right? About 5 months. Yeah. So, 4 months. So we've got a year to where they're gonna. It's a trial period, so they're gonna see how it goes, and then they're gonna have to decide what they're gonna do, because technically speaking, per Denver Revised Municipal Code, it's illegal to ride scooters on the sidewalk. But where do they go? So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Sidewalk is where they're
Yeah.
banned from.
That's what happened.
They still have to prosecute.
Well, I'm not trying to point the finger, but we were not consulted. Denver Police wasn't consulted when that decision was made. We certainly would have conveyed to them that it's illegal to have these on the sidewalk. It's also the bike lanes are not for scooters either. So where do they go? You know, so these are things that are going to be evaluated when this one-year trial period ends, and we still have several months to go before that happens.
According to the ordinance, scooters were considered to be children's toys.
Oh, these
So
are.
in order to change it, the city ordinance needs to be changed.
Yeah, they're going to have to address a lot of. It's not going to be a quick fix. There's going to be an evaluation period that's of course occurring right now. There's going to be some changes that are going to have to happen if they're going to be able to have this transportation device in Denver. I see them all over the place, man. I'm wondering what they're going to do with it when it snows.
Which department's running the trial? Transportation.
Well, Public Works is the one that's essentially running this trial, and you know, they're going to have to consult with the city council on the law itself. It's going to be a big thing. So I will tell you, a lot of people do use them. I mean, they're all over the place. Now we have those electric bikes that are in Denver too. So you know, it's the next big step that's happening with mass transportation. So yes, sir.
Are you guys doing DUIs on those at all?
I don't know if we're doing DUIs, but it is a motorized vehicle, right? So you can get charged with DUI if you're under the influence on a scooter. Yeah.
I think bikes are too.
Bikes are too. But it makes it more solidified, stating that it's a motor vehicle, because there's a motor on that thing. You can't say, "Oh, it's on my bike, man." Yeah, yeah. That travels at about 30 miles an hour. So, yes, sir.
Does the ordinance or whatever it is, the trial period contain anything about warning? You get off.
Well,
Bicycles seem to be pretty good at red things, whatever they are. They park pretty well.
I
Things are all over the sidewalk.
I haven't seen. I mean, I was in downtown today for a little bit. I haven't seen. I've seen some that look like they've been kind of thrown about, but for the most part, there's certain areas I think that where they're parking them. You know, so that's still all trial too. It's still all part of the evaluation process. Where do they park them? Where are they supposed to ride them? You know, are there going to be certain times of the year they're going to be used? Because when it snows, what are they going to do? So anyway, guys, thanks for having me. Bob will be back next meeting. I'm sure you all missed him. So thanks.
Thank you, Officer. Commander Martinez, thank you. Okay, one thing. Is anyone missing a silver earring tonight? Check your ears. Nope, no silver earring. Okay, so next we have Councilman Espinosa. You're up.
I'm up.
You're up.
So did I hear that right, guys? So the right place to have Amazon deliver your packages is to leave your car running and unlocked and have it put it in there? Okay. Hi. This is an interesting night. Everyone is out at events in the political sphere, shaking hands and patting each other on the back and hopefully having successful campaigns. And everyone looked at me like when I told them I was going into RNOME, who has an RNOME? And Whna is traditional in this regard. So I'm happy to be here, though. The things that I was just going to sort of touch on, I won't be speaking to it unless something comes up later. I'll stick around, but I will be handing out an FAQ on the bike and ped improvements that sort of relate to the next agenda item, so that you have sort of a takeaway or something to write notes on as well. I say FAQ but I'll be honest, they're not frequently asked questions. They are frequently asked questions by a handful of my constituents. repeatedly by that same group of constituents. But since we put a lot of legwork into multiple rounds of addressing the same question in different ways, I'm happy to share this sort of this little summary. That said, Council finally passed 2 weeks ago an amended version of the Green Roofs Initiative. I thought I'd tell you that because Northwest Denver overwhelmingly supported that ballot measure. And so it is a much more improved, rational version. If you recall, during that last ballot measure, I didn't take a position, largely because it was the right thing, but a wrong implementation. And so fortunately, after the better part of a year, a good outcome has been brokered, with both sides coming together on that. So it was good, having been involved with the Slot Home Task Force. It was good to see the Green Roofs Task Force sort of gel around a set of solutions that really do move the needle for us as a city, but do it in a more sensible way. So that did happen. The other nice thing, this was a really great day for me for two reasons. Ludi Committee was a presentation on a legislative text, a new text amendment, which is a change in the zoning code, an addition to the zoning code for the Central Platte Valley. That is the Elitch property, the Pepsi Center property, and the parking lots for the aquarium, largely. So it bridges both District 1 and District 9. Both myself and Councilman Brooks are bringing this rezoning forward to council, and it is a culmination to date of many of the things that I've been sort of advocating for as a member of council. A level of affordability as a requirement that the city has never seen before. Design standards and guidelines and design review that really emphasize the public realm. A unique way of getting to unlimited height in that area by sort of emphasizing slenderness of buildings and porosity, so that and a sort of more sensible approach to how we mass and ramp up. An emphasis on multimodal transit and open space and sort of community benefits. And so it is, we did this is a long time coming. We had a plan update that was a precursor to this. Now this is the actual regulatory tool. And that will be coming to council in approximately 4 weeks for a final vote. So sometime in about mid-December. And so it's been fun. And so Councilman Brooks likes to point out the fact that, he's always sort of held us as sort of polar opposites, even though, I try to find a lot of places where we agree and sort of generate win-win. So he's more surprised by the fact that we're collaborating on this than I am, but it's okay. And then other good news, district-wide, but in a very, very limited way, is the thing that we have decided, we presented neighborhood-wide, was this idea that we could move forward on sort of community-led overlays. This is the way we modify the existing zoning so that we can sort of make it more local. And so we have been moving forward. We started the overlay process. We picked up some stuff in Berkeley and in Sunnyside, and primarily Berkeley and Sunnyside. And but we sort of hit a stagnant point about in May. And the nice thing is a collaboration with the University of Colorado Denver that we had discussed back in May finally came to fruition in October. And I'm pleased to announce that, yes, before the end of the year, we will have sort of rock solid overlay proposal for Harkness Heights and a framework for trying to move forward on additional overlays as they come up, and sort of building a toolbox that could be applied in other parts of the district. So I won't bore you with the details there, but it is in fact something tangible. We will have deliverables, and we'll be moving forward, particularly on Harkness Heights, but then able to move into Berkeley, into Sunnyside, and a very limited request that we had here in Whna as well, or West Highland. And so that's the gist of sort of things that are going on right now. Any questions? Yes?
You have a new assistant, is that?
Oh, yeah. So the good thing is for Amanda, so both Whna and Amanda, Whna's last day was October 5th. Amanda's last day was November 5th. Whna took a significant salary promotion and now works in California using her accounting degree that she had just gotten before she came to us. And Amanda took a promotion with DFD. And so she's still working with council, and she's actually still working in a limited capacity for the district, because she still lives in Grandview, she's still involved in these overlays that I'm talking about, and she owns property in Sunnyside, so we're still going to be triangulating on a lot of things. You don't know this, but you know this, her email's the same. But it'll have a different title, it'll say program manager, and so it's a big bump in salary and responsibility. And so we've replaced both Amanda and Whna with a gentleman by the name of Logan Fry, who you may know because he's probably, if you've ever run afoul of CPD and our nuisance, our weed violation, he's the guy that cited you the last 2 years. So he knows the ins and outs, and actually came highly recommended by both Amanda and Whna, who had worked with him on a number of issues. And so far he's just hit the ground running and been great. We are supplementing that with another gentleman by the name of Trin Seawald. And those who know political lobbyists, yes, it is that same name, but it is there's no connection there. Well, there is a familial connection, but it's not a political connection, sorry. And he will be handling some of the sort of more office functions as well. So we're sort of well equipped. That said, I should also let you know that with these changes, there's some sort of structural changes that we're doing as an office that were sort of things that we just didn't do for the last 3.5 years that sort of somewhat to some degree bothered me, but really came to light in part because of something like what this FAQ is. With the loss of the North Denver Tribune, we really lost an outlet that we used to sort of communicate to you guys things that were happening. There were two lead articles that I was part of, and I know at least one other with respect to the traffic circles, but that paper disappeared in November of last year. And so you're going to see a much more robust communication program from my office, largely by email and then quarterly with those things printed and summarized for distribution, and try to get those in as many coffee shops and things that we can as possible. So do sign up if you are wanting sort of a more thorough explanation of some major undertakings in the district. Do sign up for the emails. It will mean that you're slightly more inundated than just the coffee messages, but it will be sort of the thorough write-ups that we used to do bi-weekly and monthly in the trip. So, yeah. Any other questions?
Where can you sign up for that?
Just go to District1, the number 1.net. That sort of, and then there's just 2 buttons there. One is to sign up, and the other one is to kick you over to our official site. We did that because the city website is sort of complicated to get to. So that's it.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Raphael. Thank you. Okay, next we have 32nd Avenue improvements. We have Public Works here. Thank you for coming.
We've got some handouts. I'm going to just
Oops.
Okay, hello, I am Emily Cushman. I am the project manager for the 32nd Avenue project.
What's your name? Sorry.
Emily Cushman, that's with a C.
It's all on the handout.
Yeah, it's all on the handout. So we're just gonna go through the handout here and tell you what we're doing. So the project goal here is to improve the pedestrian environment along the corridor. And in 2016, you might remember us coming out to you to introduce the project, where we decided to do bulb outs for Tennyson and Perry. And then we wanted to hear from you what other needs you had for this corridor. And out of that, we decided to add in Julian and Irving to the project. And so finally, this year we have funding identified, and so we studied the corridor, we studied Julian and Irving, and what improvements would fit best for those locations. So far the design has been refined for Tennyson and Irving, and we're finalizing the design for the whole corridor. We're almost to 100%. So I will go into more detail about what's on the board, and also on the back of the handout there's a nice little graphic of the project locations. So Tennyson is getting these, can you still hear me if I'm not in front of the microphone? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so Tennyson is getting these concrete curb extensions on the corners. These reduce the crossing distance that pedestrians have to go. And the existing traffic signal infrastructure will be removed. The existing traffic signal infrastructure will be removed. The stop signs that are there currently will stay. Also at Perry Street, this one here, in the green, there will be concrete and painted curb extensions for the corners, which again will reduce the pedestrian crossing distances. And the existing traffic signal infrastructure will be removed, and the stop signs will remain. For Julian Street, we'll be installing median islands on the east and west approaches to the intersection, so the medians will be on 32nd coming into Julian. And then the west side of the intersection that has the existing crosswalk will be enhanced with a pedestrian activated rectangular rapid flashing beacon. Yes, sir.
Why that's not a Perry, because it's just down from Medicine.
Because Perry is an always stop, and Julian doesn't have any traffic control currently, and so we'll be enhancing it with the RFP.
So that is basically to allow pedestrians to cross.
Yes,
That's why you have
correct.
that.
Yeah, and then at Irving Street, we're doing a similar thing, adding in the median islands as an entrance to the corridor to say this is a traffic calm corridor. Okay, and so for the schedule, we're heading into 100% design. We'll have that completed in early 2019, and then we'll move into contracting for the construction. And we will be back to this RNO to provide you with updates. And then construction and repaving will occur in summer and fall of 19. And then
When's it going to start? When's it going to be completed? Can't hear you.
Sorry, we don't have exact dates, but this summer, or not this summer, summer 19 and into the fall of 19. And then several months post-construction, we'll do a speed limit study to evaluate reducing the speed limit for the whole corridor. Okay, now we'll take some questions. Trevor, you have your hand up first.
What's the limits of 32nd repaving? Is it going to be all the way from Sheridan to Spear?
Yes, Sheridan to Spear.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yes?
What is being done to convey
the intent to drivers that they should be on 20 million and not 30 seconds. I mean, all of this is being done, but people have to go through there and have trouble and have accidents and all of that stuff before they say, fooey with this, I'm going some other street. Is anything being done to announce to them, go elsewhere?
All of these projects is part of kind of a corridor-wide approach to change the nature of 32nd Avenue to a more locally oriented street, and hopefully with these neck downs and medians, it'll help discourage faster traffic and help discourage through traffic. That is one of the intentions of these projects.
Okay, I
Can
get
you
that
speak
that's
at the microphone too?
okay. I get that that is the intent, but how do you convey that to the drivers so that they don't come in instead of getting them in and clogged up and crashing and some stuff like that?
Do you mean like, are we gonna send out a notice to drivers or?
No, are you gonna put up a sign that says preferred street is 29?
No, we don't direct traffic in that way, but the medians at Irving, although there's already a signal, are supposed to clue in drivers that there's going to be continued traffic calming along the corridor. So that's what we've got. I mean, there could be options for, community-oriented gateway treatments if we wanted to do something a little more than just a median, but there wouldn't be signage.
So just obstruction is what we're counting on.
Yeah, just necking it down and making it more difficult for through traffic to proceed quickly. Yeah.
I have a couple of questions. First one, is the reason that you're doing this to improve pedestrian safety?
Yes. Yeah, that's the goal of the project.
That's the goal, okay. How wide will a bulb out be? How far will it stick out?
It'll take up basically the parking lane, and it won't go into the travel lane.
So it'll be 4 to 6 feet?
6 to 8 would be more like it, because the parking lane is 8 feet, 7 to 8 feet.
And how long does it take a average pedestrian to walk 8 feet?
The crossing distances are usually done or calculated by, for signals we'd use 3.5 feet per second, and that's standard across the country. And so if it's
2 seconds is what you're saying. You're reducing the crossing time by 2 seconds.
On each side, yeah.
Approximately.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be, since at Perry and Tennyson you already have red flashing lights, which can be seen from the Tennyson one can be seen from Sheridan, and it can be seen from Perry, and the Perry one can be seen from Tennyson, and it can be seen from down at Lowell. Wouldn't it be better to leave those flashing and possibly put in a button that you can push, and it'll make all directions go red for approximately 15 seconds so you can cross the street?
It's not our policy to have signals be in flash, and these it's not our policy to have signals in flash, and these ones have been because they're always stops, and they're going to remain always stops.
You have flashing four-ways at 33rd and Teton, and you have them in Louisiana and Pearl. So if that's the policy, I keep hearing it's our policy, but you violate your policy all the time. What's wrong with the four-way flashing lights? They can be seen, and you have no reason to then want to speed up when you see a flashing light ahead of you. You know you're going to have to stop. So why would you want to speed up if you can't see the stop signs?
Okay. The bulb outs are... Well, I can't answer all of your comment, but one aspect of the bulb outs is to place the stop signs closer into the intersection. So the pedestrian crossing distance will be closer, and the stop sign will also be closer to the driveway.
With LED lights around them?
No, there'll be standard stop signs.
The kind that you're oblivious to.
Just the kind we're oblivious to all over Denver, yeah.
how many people from this community have been involved with any of these decisions? And including these stop signs that you put in here 4 years ago. Do you know that those stop signs were put in here with only 36% of the people who came or in this community who commented on your survey? Okay, and these bulb outs. How much do these cost? It's ridiculous. Everything that you are suggesting here, I think they're stupid. Plain stupid. No, just stop it. I mean, we need to get the road paved. That's the most important thing. And these bulb outs, they're more dangerous for bicyclists. I don't think they're any great advantage for any pedestrian either. And I don't see where the accidents have occurred that make you think that these bulb outs are going to improve anything. And you've got long buses that go through there. How about emergency vehicles with these stop signs that you put in here? A stop sign with traffic backed up is not good. How do you get a fire engine through an area where you've got cars waiting to get through on a stop sign?
So thanks, Roger, for the comment. Is there a specific question of that you would like the city to answer? Mr. Cooper, please. Roger?
Well, this is my point, okay? I think these things have just been shoved down our throat in this community, and I'll tell you, those stop signs were put in. I have a record of communications between Cynthia Patton and Susan Shepherd. And Cynthia Patton was commenting about this, and it was the 32nd Avenue business, or the merchants, who were ahead of this, and I'd like to ask you that question then. How much have the merchants been involved in these so-called improvements for 32nd Avenue?
So Roger, I want you and everybody in this room to know that for 3.5 years,
There's probably nobody on council that's challenged Public Works more on their rationale and decision-making on improvements that they put into the right-of-ways. And I can tell you that they don't put things in without thoroughly thinking about the ramifications to emergency vehicles, to bikes, and whatnot. And they don't just act because a council person insists and demands. They are very rational in their approach. And the changes that you have seen, like on 26th, on Lowell, on Tennyson, and now on 32nd, are very deliberate and very well conceived and thought out and conveyed to the community in a very deliberate fashion. And yes, do you have a very specific point of view that you have co-opted this meeting now the 4th time in a row? It's true. You have your legitimate personal concerns. But as the person that represents this district, on behalf of you all, I am telling you that you're in a minority. And yes, you can have your chain of communications that you think that this somehow is sort of imposed and demanded and usurps community process, but I can tell you that it has been a very transparent process. And yes, you can object to it, but this staff, these people at Public Works and the people that came before them are extremely professional and very, very considerate of these concerns. And they have come to this conclusion with the overwhelming support of this community. And I have to be honest, that's what I'm talking about when I say this FAQ. I can list, you have been part of that co-opting of these meetings.
You, in your last meeting with us, said that you are Mr. Can't Do. You can't do this, you can't do that, and you can't convey and tell the city anything. and now you're saying you're trying to stick up for it.
Yes.
You speak with a divided tongue.
No, that's how you choose to hear me, Mr. Cooper.
I have a lot of witnesses there that'll verify.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper. Let's tone it down. Thank you. Are there any other new questions? One second, Jill.
I have a question. Like, how is can you actually put crosswalks? Like, 32nd and Main, for instance. I work at the real estate company that's right there on 32nd and Main. So, and we've got a bar on one corner of us, but that's a pretty heavy walking stuff. Is like, can you actually have just like even the lines across where people actually are polite and stop, or is that not, you have to go through a whole study with that?
We do like to formalize those because crosswalks can sometimes cause a false sense of security for pedestrians, and if there's no other like extra signs for drivers or awareness for this corridor, then a pedestrian might just step into the street because they think, oh, there's a crosswalk, it's safe. So with these improvements, we would be able to explore something like that for other intersections.
So right now, the idea is that you have to either walk down the Lowell and cross over, or walk up to Perry and cross over.
You can still cross there.
Yeah, you can still cross.
I know, but it's crazy right there. It really is. So like,
we have an uncontrolled pedestrian crossing guidelines that we follow that were put together 3 years ago, and it has criteria of when it's most appropriate to stripe a crosswalk and in what conditions. And that's also what led us to put in the RFB here, because in some instances it's better to put extra signage and the flashing. So
is that an area that anybody's brought up about studying, or?
So we're not, she and I are involved only in this project delivery, but we can take that request to the engineer in charge of evaluating these things and see if either he's already done it or if he can add it to his list.
Okay.
You said at Newton?
32nd and Newton, yeah, because I think it's, because there's so many permit parkings around there that I feel like a lot of people park like down on Osceola and then walk down and cross over to go to the
Yeah, you see a lot of
restaurant and
people
whatnot.
crossing there. Okay. Yeah, we'll add that to the list for crosswalk evaluation. I don't know what's next.
Oh, yeah, I think, I just didn't hear the beginning of what she was asking, but you were asking about crossing at Newton or Mead, and I was gonna bring that up too. Because I live a few blocks away, and I walk in this area all the time, and I'm really excited about all these changes, just because I walk more around here than I drive. And I've had, I think, incidents that have made me like nervous at all 4 of these intersections, so I'm really looking forward to all these changes, and that.
Well, and that's like every 2 blocks, so at least you have the ability to walk like 2 blocks down or 2 blocks down.
Yeah, but I was just going to say, I agree, I had the same thought that there's still that kind of stretch between Perry and Lowell, where you're crossing between the businesses there. It can be kind of hairy a lot of times. So, yep.
Have you consulted with RTD? You mean 30 seconds will still be a bus route when this whole thing?
Yes,
Yeah.
we.
Awesome.
Did you have a question first? Before I get back to him?
Yeah, have you calculated how many parking spaces will be lost that have been put in roll-outs and
Couple. We don't have the number right now, but there's a handful at each of these.
I think it says. Yeah.
It says?
It definitely, it says on here.
And
If you can read the tiny
Okay,
picture.
so we have 3 spots here, Julian. None at Tennyson, so 0 at Tennyson, 0 at Perry, and
There's actually 2 at Perry.
2 Perry? Oh, sorry, I was trying to go fast.
Yeah.
And looks like 9 at Irving.
Yeah, then there's a loading zone.
Yeah.
What provisions have been made at 32nd Lowell to improve traffic flow there with the traffic light, with left-hand turns that block up and stop up the traffic constantly?
There's currently no changes planned for Lowell, but we have gotten requests to look at left-hand turn bays, and the area engineer will to look at potentially adding left turn bays is one option, and we'll be evaluating the traffic there to see if we can do a left-hand turn bay.
If you do that, won't you have to take away parking spaces?
Yeah, there's a trade-off, and that is not currently in the works. And
no left turns for there and for the alley between there and me.
That could be an option that we look at.
You will look at it.
So just for a little history on that, Mr. Cooper, is the area engineer, and I forget his name right now, but he was here less than a year ago, Alex, and we went through this. We spent about a half an hour talking about the 30-second, and that was one of the things that we had identified for him. So it's in his queue to be looked at.
It's on his radar.
It's going to be looked at. It's been a year.
It has not been a year, Mr. Cooper.
It's been close.
No, it has not. Thank you. We're going to move on. Don, did you have a question or comment?
I will say, I don't like losing parking spaces, but it sure makes it nice to be able to have a pedestrian walk out and look left and right. I think that's a great safety feature for those. I'll just leave it at that.
Sure.
There's a trade-off is really sad, but we do need parking in Northwest District.
Thank you. Any other questions?
You also have my contact information. If you think of something later specific to 30-second, you can contact me.
Sure. I'm sorry?
Are we going to discuss it all?
We can bring it up at the end. It's not on the agenda. We've talked about it the last 3 months in a row, and this team is not involved with that at all. So, no. So, and to be respectful of everybody else, I've tried to keep everything going. So thank you guys very much for attending.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
So Phil, if you'd like to come up.
Hi, everybody. My name is Phil Reinert. I work for the Denver District Attorney's Office, and my boss, Beth McCann, just asked me to come here to update you on a few of the things that we're doing in our office. I left pamphlets on the back desk there if you're interested, and it lists several things that we're doing. Some of the more important ones we're doing are, since Beth has come in, we've started basically a veterans track. So some of you may be veterans or know veterans who have PTSD or some mental health problems or something like that based on their service. Basically, if a veteran is charged with a crime, we screen them to see if we can get them hooked up with services either through the City of Denver or through the Veterans Administration or some other way so that we can help them basically overcome the problem that probably caused them to commit the crime in the first place. It's tremendously helpful. The person we have in charge, his name is Bill Winter. He was in the Marines and the Navy, so he has lots of experience in the military. We've also added an elder abuse unit or an elder unit. Jane, who's in charge of that, is quite good, and we brought her in from Boulder. Mostly we focus on crimes involving elder folks who were essentially assaulted by anywhere from loved ones to caretakers. We also handle a lot of economic crimes regarding elder folks, basically being scammed or swindled. A lot of the time it could be a handyman or a family member or someone they know, getting them to sign over their house. Even stuff like that, that's that serious as well. We have a juvenile diversion unit, and as you know, we prosecute general crimes as well. Before, I'll see if you have any questions, but I want to comment on a couple of things. One, the porch pirates. I am Highlands alumnus. I moved 5 years ago to the other side of town, but we have them over there too. I don't know if Officer Gibb mentioned this, but I would suggest that if you do have packages delivered to your house, that you go buy, if you can, a camera for your patio. I can tell you from my perspective as a prosecutor, and I'm sure the officers would agree, if someone just rolls up from the street and takes a package off your patio, it's hard to catch them because hardly anyone sees them and they do it pretty quickly. But if you have a camera that's actually a good resolution and you catch their face, that certainly helps from the police perspective. Most of the time, the police will pass that picture around or something to District 1 and see if they know that person. And from my perspective as a prosecutor, that makes it very easy to prosecute a case if I have a photograph of the person taking the package off your porch. I have one on my porch. I just want to suggest it because we have the same problems. I live over in Stapleton now, but we have the same problems there. As for the electric scooters, they have been the subject of much discussion. And I haven't been part of the discussions at the top, but I can tell you anecdotally, I asked the officer about whether we were prosecuting DUIs or something like that for a reason, because I think we are. We're dealing with the same problems as you, how to classify them as motor vehicles, the sidewalks versus the streets, what's safe and everything like that. I think we're seeing a few cases actually that we're prosecuting out of there. I can't tell you what they are, but I think they're relatively minor traffic infractions, maybe a couple of DUIs. But I just wanted to update you on that as well, since it came up in the meeting. And we're honestly working on that as well, just like DPD. So, do you guys have any questions at all? No? Yes, sir.
I just think it'd be a good idea to reinstall the curbs now, but that would kind of stop them from lighting through the intersections so easily.
I mean, that's a good point. Yeah, I mean that would be contradictory to the things they were just talking about. So, I think the young ladies you would have talked to just left. I don't know. I honestly don't know anything about that. Yes, sir.
We are working with public schools, I take it, in the juvenile area, because it is a major problem. I think Denver's been doing a good job with it, but we still have problems.
Well, of course, and every large city does, right? I mean, basically, go ahead. I mean, generally what happens is, first of all, we have a juvenile unit that handles exclusively juvenile prosecution of cases, which is anything from criminal mischief like tagging a wall up to more serious things like shootings and things like that. As part of that, we have a juvenile diversion program, so with the lower level stuff, we basically just try and get them to do community service and things like that, and we never see them again. As for working with DPS, DPS, as you know, probably has school resource officers, which are DPD officers. Essentially, we work with Denver Police Department, who works with the schools, but if it's a mandatory reporting case or something serious, or the school resource officer sees something, then they take the case to us and we decide whether to prosecute or not. I mean, we do have some involvement with DPS, but it's in a more informal manner. It's called cordons to classrooms. So deputies will go out to different schools throughout all of Denver and basically it's 5th grade classes. And so basically for about 8 weeks or 8 sessions, we go out there over a few months, talk to the kids about the judicial system. And then actually the really fun part is you teach them about it, and then we bring them down to the courthouse and we do a mock trial, which is always Goldilocks getting prosecuted for breaking into the Three Bears house. Sometimes she gets convicted, sometimes she doesn't. But it's very good. I mean, they learn a lot. It's really great. Sure. Any other questions at all, guys? No? All right. Well, thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you for coming. Thank you. Okay, committee updates. Design and preservation.
Hi, my name is Paul Floyd. Real quick, 2 weeks ago was the Historic Denver Annual Dinner, and Packers Hill received a Community Preservation Award, and Roger, Stephanie, and Trevor, and Marie got all dressed up and represented our community and looked really good. So it was a great acknowledgement for our community. And on a similar vein, Steve Davis and his wife Jan own the Bossler House. It's the big Italianate mansion at the west end of Highland Park. I was teasing him that it's been 6 months and, gee, they haven't gotten another award. the house has received several accolades deservedly for all the good work that Steve and Jan had done. And as I was teasing Steve, he goes, well, actually, we do have another award. And this Thursday, they are going to receive a Mayor's Design Award. And I think we have Raphael to thank for that, just what Steve shared with me. So, again, a well-deserved award. Yet another one for the Bossler House. And then finally, relative to the Bossler House, we've been working on a district designation for a landmark for the Tilden School. And that consists of, if you know where the Bossler House is, at the west end of Highland Park, and you've noticed those two other large brick buildings. Back in the 1920s, that was a sanatorium called the Tilden School for Teaching Health, and the large building behind it, now the Fairview Lofts, was also part of the campus. So, and it is a National Register district, which is nice, but doesn't really protect the structure. So we're shooting to get a Denver landmark designation for it. And we have 3 of the building owners supporting it, and we're trying to convince the 4th one. So we're looking forward to finishing up on that effort probably early next year. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, liquor license? Anyone for liquor?
No, I
Okay.
have a question though.
Yes.
So the fire and ice, is that what it is?
Fire in the mountain?
Fire
Yes.
and ice.
Fire and ice, okay.
So, you know, they have their little cornhole or whatever.
Yes.
And they have their everybody holds their beer out there on the sidewalks. Can they do that? Like, it's not in the patio area. Things are getting a little.
Don't know.
What do they have? They play
People
the
are drinking
cornhole
when they're
and
doing the
they all,
cornhole.
hold their beers out there.
I will talk to Dan
And
ask him about
that.
that.
A little crazy.
Okay.
I don't live. I mean, it doesn't
Yeah.
bother me, but I was just curious on what our.
I don't know.
Did they sign a good neighborhood agreement?
They do.
Yes.
They're very good. So, and we keep in touch with them all the time. So, I will ask Dan to follow up with them. Yep.
So I can tell you this much, every liquor license will have a premises where the alcohol can be consumed, and that's an actual plan. So if they're in that area, then they're okay, but if they're not in that area, then no, they're not.
Okay, yeah, because they have like the the little sidewalk areas and the park and stuff.
I
but
know.
it's not in the patio.
Yeah, I know when they did an expansion a few years ago that covered the freezer in the back and their patio, but yeah, I don't know the limits. But Dan knows that, so I'll follow up with him, make sure he.
Okay.
So the gentle approach would be to tell them that they need to keep the alcohol to their premises, because the ramifications for them getting busted for having alcohol outside
yeah.
are
Well, and they're probably not there, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
So it's more of a precautionary, like.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing it up. Well, they've been very good to work with. So.
They're also getting rowdier and rowdier. I mean, we have, halfway down the block, and it's as though they're in our front yard and making noise.
Yeah, unless they break the decibel, which speaking and talking, I don't think you're going to get there unless they're playing music loud or something. I don't think it's really enforceable. But
What is the decibel level? A jet engine or
no.
vacuum cleaner?
Can the rest of the neighbors make as much noise as they make all the time?
Well, I guess this should have been addressed when we had the commander and the neighborhood officer here, because they're very well aware. No, because you didn't want to rat anyone off, and you were being very considerate. But if anyone else has like a complaint, that needs to be addressed when the police are here. Because they know the laws and we don't. Okay, anything from the social committee? Nope. Okay, transportation?
Nothing new there.
Going once, going twice, zoning committee? Zoning committee? Zoning. Anything, Mr. Gravanoff, for the zoning committee?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Well, we had the councilman ask the position or actually strongly asked to be part of that committee. And I don't
Yes.
know what the result was after that.
We're still working on that.
We're still trying.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that. That's all I know.
We need a sharp stick.
Or a bigger one.
Yeah, a big stick, a bat. Oh, don't say that in front of the police department, okay? Okay, so, hey, good job.
Wait, shouldn't you guys be asking for more committee members? Don't we always need new committee members?
We always need new committee members.
A room full of potential volunteers.
Any volunteers?
Oh, come on.
I'd like to be part of the zoning committee.
You would? Okay, great.
That was Rick?
That is great. We need more.
I just submitted an application to Paul and Andrea Mendon to be on the Preservation and Design Committee.
Oh, good. Do we have any social people that want to be on the social committee and help out?
It's fun, you get to plan parties,
So you get to go to the bars.
and then we get to have parties.
Yes.
So
So that's another one.
we also have an open vacancy for membership there, which basically is just to help people sign in and people pay dues and such.
Yeah, like when they come to the meeting, greet them at the door, and then have them fill out everything, and then ask if they'd like to join, and collect the money, and we give it to the treasurer, and yeah, so we need people to do that for membership, and we especially need young people to join the neighborhood association. There's a lot of young people moving into the neighborhood, and I don't think any of us are opposed to having kids, and we do try to keep it, 8 o'clock. So we try to keep it, sometimes they go over, but we try to keep it at 8 o'clock, just 1 hour for families. Okay, anything else?
So before we open it to the open
Oh,
floor.
yes.
Yes. How many first-time attendees tonight?
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming. Welcome. So, open agenda.
Okay, do we have any open floor, open agenda items? Mr. Grebenoff, would you like to come up?
I'll do it from here, it's faster.
Okay, you could speak
I have a
loud.
question.
Okay.
35th Avenue, oh, I hate them with fashion. They're ugly. Is there anything going to be done to improve the appearance of these?
So those are just temporary. What you're seeing there is just to try to map the traffic movements through them. That's not the permanent of how they're going to look.
Well, that's your hope, that's.
Yeah, they're trying that so that they can try it with snow removal, that, they don't break the snow blades. They're learning that whole process. So the looks are nothing like what they are intended.
I trained the fire department that boy to watch moving vans and other large trucks trying to maneuver, and that's horrible. Plus, it's awfully bad on some of the people trying to cross it. You don't see it. We're not trained yet. European circle.
Thanks for throwing in that word yet. Yeah.
Yet. Good.
Sir, it's not even a circle if you're going east or westbound on 35th, because 35th is 40 feet wide and the circle is 20. So that gives you a 10-foot lane east or westbound. You don't even have to slow down.
Well, a lot of people don't do that.
And the police officer here tonight said that the first vehicle into the roundabout has the right-of-way, although people on 35th Avenue don't realize that they have to yield, and we can't get yield signs put up, no matter how many times we ask certain people in the community.
All right, let's move on. Are there any other non-agenda items so that people
Marie?
feel free to leave if they want?
I think some people were here last month.
Okay.
But I just want to mention that it's not too early to start thinking about the ballot in Denver 2019 in May. You might have thought it was too early, but it's not. And there is a group circulating a petition called Let Denver Vote, which says that before the city spends another dollar on bidding for the Olympics or hosting the Olympics, if this gets on the ballot and people vote for it next year in May, then the city would have to ask Denver taxpayers for approval before they spend more money on the Olympics, bidding for it or hosting it. So this is not a vote on the Olympics, pro or con. It's just saying, hey, if you want to spend taxpayer money on it, we'd like to have a conversation about that, whether we think that's a priority or not. I have a petition here. If anybody supports getting a chance to vote on this, please see me afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you, Marie. Okay, anyone else?
Is this the open?
Yes.
Yeah, open forum.
Okay, I don't think we've been talking enough about these traffic circles here yet. I know that Tony and I have come in here to talk about them. And, you know, just here again, these are things that have come down to us. And who in our community was on this? Were you on this traffic or this bicycle study, Trevor? Or who was on it from our community?
So you need to clarify. So there's a bicycle master plan for the city. If you're talking about the traffic circles, the bikeway, that was a city-run thing. They came here first, gave a presentation. This was about 2015, 2016. Then they went away, did some design. Then they had a thing at Edison where they invited the greater community. When I was, 2017. That was 2017. And then
There was a third meeting.
there was a third meeting here.
No, there was a 2015 meeting at Salvagetti.
Oh, Salvagetti. That's the other one. So there was 3 public meetings.
Plus they came here.
Right.
So there was no citizens. This was a city engineered project study, much like everything else here. But
All we're getting are presentations.
Correct.
I mean, who was on this committee from our community that decided to put these damn
So when they came here in 2015, they were asking for input on traffic safety, what they would like to see, what our goals are. And nobody said, oh, we want a traffic circle or anything like that. They were asking for input. So then they took that away and came up with this plan. They paid professional outside consultants to do the work. It was a city project, but outside consultants actually did it. If you look at the study, you can see their names on it. They came back with the proposal at Edison. They had several different options. People wrote comments on cards. I like this about this. I don't like this, a whole bunch of things. When I was there was probably 20, 30 people, and there was a lot of cards on there. So they held it for, I'm looking for who else was there, but 3-4 hours that day.
Sheila was there.
Sheila, thank you. That's where they got the public input. Then they pushed it to the consultants again, like, okay, incorporate these comments, come up with the best plan you can, meeting these goals. This is the process how we get everything. And I know you don't like the traffic circles, but look at all the projects that we are getting here in West Highland. And a lot of it has to do with Raphael, of encouraging them to listen to us. But with the 30-second improvements, the bulb outs, the 29th, all that, we're getting a fair share of the public works view or time on our neighborhood. And yeah, you're not going to like all of them, that's fine. But they are reaching out to the community for years. That's just their process.
I couldn't see anybody on that list from our community that worked on this bicycle study.
Correct, worked on it. No, it's an outside consultant with the city. They're not going to hire a layperson to design something. That's not efficient. They come up with some ideas, and they get feedback from us of, we like this, we don't like this, this is what we really want. We're worried about speed here, we're worried about traffic or flow of traffic here or whatever. What are our personal concerns? And then they wrap that into the plan.
So I just wanted to give you an update. So actually the Denver Moves 2011 plan, which is the sort of origin for all of this, had actually District 1 actually had the most representation on their task force, citizen task force. Specifically, it was Jennifer Draper Carson and Noel Copeland that sat on that task, that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 member task force for the entire city. There were public meetings as part of Denver Moves, and the council person at the time was Paul Sandoval. And so that led to this subsequent implementation, which also then had public input throughout the process as well. So, and I can tell you that this plan, this 2011 plan, is part of the updated Denver Right initiative. And I can tell you that with the meetings that we had with Scheidler and Skinner and God knows where else, probably north, and actually north, the Denver Moves plans were the least attended meetings in District 1. So I'm sorry that you know, you don't feel like you're part of the process, but these meetings are open to the public, including these task force meetings, both because there were additional task force meetings and think tank meetings that had gone on in between all these public meetings. It's a lot of work as a citizen to do that, I get that, but it is not a opaque process. So, I mean, if you feel that it's opaque, there's really nothing that I or anybody else can do to make it more transparent. Because then all this stuff is actually available on the internet, these outcomes.
And so just to wrap that up, for the bigger plans, so I've spent the last year and a half on the Denver Moves transit. So when RTD doesn't deliver in 5 years, you can blame me. No, that's RTD's thing. But there has been involvement from us, and we even when the transportation committee from Whna here reviewed the bulb outs when they came in at the design level. This was after post-planning and that when the first designs came out, we came through and reviewed the plans and provided comments on those plans. So we have been involved at different capacities through this.
In the spring of 2015 meeting here, Cindy Patton came and talked about the bulb outs, and almost everybody had comments negative to the bulb outs. They were talking about big trucks needing to make turns and everything, and they're still in there. And the input was put in 2015.
So Mr. Cooper, I was at that meeting. I do not recall that occurring that way.
You got selected members.
So anyways, any other topics? Otherwise, we're going to get going.
Were we recording then?
I mean, I definitely have the video, the voice recording of the October 10th, 2015 meeting, which had the bike presentation.
Yeah, so.
And it had a full list of who to call if you wanted input and
Yeah.
everything else.
So use the tools that are available to you to help you figure these things out. And we have recordings, and we have speakers that come.
And recall that the 12 people here tonight is not the greater community.
Right.
So,
And then if you have an interest in having someone coming to speak to us, we can contact them and ask them to come, like we did tonight.
That's something I guess I would like to say, you're talking about the greater community. You get these things that are on the internet, nobody comes, and then whoever does come, that's supposedly what the answer is, but it really isn't.
No, you're not understanding. So these public outreaches that they have when they go out to the school and they get these bigger groups are just here. They also have the phone numbers. They ask people to call in. People call into 311. Not everybody can attend the meetings. They're trying by email, sometimes even by letter, phone numbers. They're trying to get us involved. And it's true that people like yourself that really care about the neighborhood that come to these meetings, not everybody can.
Well, I used to work at night, so I couldn't come.
Right.
So
Okay.
I would like to be a member of the traffic.
Do we have
transportation? Sure.
Transportation, okay. Thank you for volunteering.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to everyone else that volunteered. We do need the help, and we do need fresh ideas, and we do need fresh people.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you
Don't
for
be
coming.
fresh.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.